Hi everybody, so this is the first video of my channel and this is day number 7 of my quarantine period at Movenpick Hotel. My name is Jill. So what can we do when we are quarantined at a room that we cannot step out from it, right? So probably we can solve a Sudoku or we can learn some Excel skill. So in this video we are going to illustrate how we can actually solve a Sudoku using Excel, right? So in this video we are going to explore different functions and also some Excel tools or Excel features that help us to quickly identify what to do, right? The methods that we are going to use in this video in terms of solving this Sudoku is not fully automated. That means we still have to do some manual work in order to get a complete answer. But this is one of the probably easiest way that you can actually solve a Sudoku using Excel without using other add-ins, other programming skills, or like using VBA. So if you check online, there are tons of way of solving a Sudoku, and most of them actually involve using VBA because we have to write an algorithm to solve this Sudoku, right? So in this video, I'm going to illustrate how we can actually use Excel to identify which cell to fill in first, and then what to do, right? So what number to fill in. So before we go into details, let me just go through. So this is we can actually zoom slightly bigger first so that we can see clearer, right? So this is a Sudoku given by the Happy Kit that I obtained from the Happy Kit that we received probably 2 days ago, right? So we received this Happy Kit from Bagian Psychology and Counseling, Jabatan Kebajikan Masyarakat Negeri Selangor, and I believe most of us know how to fill in or fill up this Sudoku, right? So we can only key in number 1 to 9, and then for every row, every column, or every small square, there is no repeating numbers. So you can only fill in 1 to 9 and exactly one time of each of these numbers, right? So each of these small 3 by 3 square is actually I name it as a small square, right? So this 9 by 9 bigger square, I name it as a big square. Okay, so over here you can also see that this is how I set up the template. So before I set up the template, basically I define certain things first, right? So each of these small square, I define it by color. So like light gray, slightly darker, and darker gray, right? So same to yellow and green. And then each of the numbers here actually indicating the cell, right? So like this is number, it should be the first number, but I start the first number from 0. So later on we will see why I start from 0. Okay, of course you can start from 1 also if you are trying to build your own template of solving Sudoku, right? So before we go into details, then I briefly introduce what we are going to learn, or what we are going to use in this video. So I split into 2 parts. The first part is a function where we type in the Excel function to help us to extract information from the data or to perform some operation. So function that we are going to use are like if function, sum product, exact function, len is for length function, or function, concatenate, where you can actually merge 2 string together, 2 string or 2 tags if you are not familiar with the string, right? So if error, is error, offset, int is taking integer part, mode is like finding the remainder, and match function. So we will go through this function together later, and then while we are building up the template, then I will explain how and why we use these functions. Okay, so for the tools that we will be using are like so these tools here is not necessary in this video or in setting up this template, but it's actually easier for us to identify what to do, and then easier for us to see the numbers. So the reason why I have these three things here. So conditional formatting, we are looking at custom conditional formatting. We want to sort and filter the data as well later on. Freeze pane, basically we freeze certain areas so that when we scroll, that area is always on top of the screen, right? So easier for us to view as well. So that is what we are going to learn in this video. Okay, so now move to this Sudoku, right? The title is not correct. Probably we should not say using solver, using Excel. So I was trying to use solver to solve this thing, but it was a bit inefficient. So it's quite time consuming, so I decided not to use solver, but slightly like half automated way. Okay, so given this Sudoku, on the left hand side is what we want to solve, right? This one on the left hand side is what we want to solve, and on the right hand side, this part here is basically just the definition, right? So I define the small square by color, I define each of the number by the numbering here, so that later on we know like 0 is what, and then 1 is what, something like that. Okay, so our objective is to fill up this one, and we try to build a template such that in the future, when you have a new Sudoku, right, so you can actually insert all the numbers, like delete everything, and then for example you can actually for example, if you have a new Sudoku, right, so you delete everything, and then you just key in whatever you have in on the questions, and then the formula below will calculate, and then show you which cell to fill in first, and then you just follow the steps, and then you will be able to solve the whole Sudoku. Okay, so that is our main objective of building up this template. So of course I will also put up the link of both blank worksheet. So-called blank worksheet is up to this stage, right? So you have one example, you have the colors and certain parts predefined. So formulas I have not put in yet. So in another template or another Excel file that I will upload also is actually full of the formulas that you can actually download and just use it. Okay, so in case if you want to build together, like learning the formula together when you are watching this video, then you can download the blank worksheet. If you think that you prefer to read the formula on your own without watching the video, then you can download the videos, the Excel file that contains formula, right? Okay, so let me just briefly explain how we are going to do that. So we all know that to fill out a number, let's say for example, if I want to key in a number 5 here, right? So whether 5 can be here or not, then it depends on 3 rules, right? So first thing is that whether it has the same number in the same row, right? So you have a 5 here, then you cannot key in a 5 here. So this is the first rule. That's why you have or that's why I have this row here that actually check all the numbers. Okay, so we will see what it means here. So secondly, we know that if you key in a 5 here, you need to ensure that all the numbers here does not contain all the numbers here from second cell to the number 9, right? So do not contain a number 5. So lastly, in the same small square here, you don't want the number to be repeating also, right? So if you have a 5 here, you cannot key in the 5 at this cell anymore, right? So that are the 3 rules that we need to comply to. And if we, of course, the number that we are going to key in is 1 to 9. So in total you have 4 rules lah. But the number 1 to 9, because it's restricted, so we don't have to explicitly formulate it over here. And if you look at the table that I have already pre-built, so you have 3 main columns, right? So the row, column, and square. So what it means here is that my idea was to, like for example, if let's say 0, so on the left hand side you have the numbering from 0, and of course if you go down until the end, right, so it's 80. So this represent each of the row here, starting from here, represent the cell here, right? So what we hope is that eventually we obtain at this cell what are the available numbers that you can actually key in here. And to obtain this, we need to check by using row condition. If we name it as row condition, so by using row condition, is the number 1 available? So we hope that if it is available, we put a 1 like this. So for example, if let's say, let me highlight this one a little bit so that we can see clearer, right? So for this color cell, we hope that if 1 is available, if you check the row, right, so you see 1 is not inside yet, so we hope that 1 is here, and then 2 is not here, so we leave it empty or blank. 3 is okay, 4 is okay, 5 is not okay, then 6, 7, 8 and 9 is not okay, right? So you have these 5 numbers available, but of course we still have to check the column, right? So column condition tells us that 4 and 7 should not be inside the list. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 and 7 cannot be the choice, right? So 4, 5, 6, 7 cannot, 8, 9, like this, right? And then lastly, we check this small square, right? So this light gray color small square, you can see that 1, 2, 3 are okay, 4, 5 not okay, right? 6 okay, 7 not okay, 8 okay, 9 not okay, right? So over here, this part, because for the square one, the formula is slightly more complicated. So as you can see, formula is longer, right? So I did not remove the formula here, so I leave it here so that you can actually just practice when you complete the whole template, and then you feel that you are more confident, then you can practice on the column square. Okay, so I did not remove the formulas here. So what we expect to have is that let me go back to the triangle, right? So just now we say that we expect it to be like 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, right? 1, 2, 3, 6, 8. So we hope that our formula will give us this number also, right? So that is our objective. So once we have this number, right? So this part, and this part. So what it means? So for if we call it as 3 lists, right? So this is like 1 list, this is like 2nd list, 3rd list. Oh, sorry, first, 2nd, 3rd, right? So from these 3 lists, if let's say the number 1 exists 3 times, then we know that 1 is actually possible, one of the possible choice for the cell 0, right? So like in this case, 1 happened 3 times, and then 2 happens only 2 times, right? So we cannot key in 2 inside the cell 0, because you know that from the row condition, 2 is not allowed, right? So even though column and square condition allows you to key in 2, but the row condition does not allow. So you can't key in a 2 inside cell 0. So by having this logic, you can see that if let's say the number appears 3 times, then we want the number. Okay, so if we reverse this statement a little bit. That implies what? That is also equivalent to saying that if let's say we are comparing, let's say 3, right? So let me just select 3 cell, right? So all the 3 selected cell, if any of them is empty cell, then we don't want, right? So in this case, like 3, 3, 3, no problem. If in this case 4, empty, empty, right? So any of them, at least one. So now you have 2 empty cells. So you know that this number 4 is not allowed. So that is the negation of this statement. Okay. So having this logic done, then we can now proceed to using the formula to actually how to say, to calculate or to return us this list, right? So for the third list, the formula is already there. I will briefly explain it later on. So now let us just complete this formula first. Right, so we start from the combine one is where you want to combine the 3 conditions, right? So we leave it to the last later. Okay, we start with the row. So if let's say the row, then what we check? Actually, we check the 1, right? So the number 1. Let me make first. So we check the number 1 whether it is inside this row or not, right? So that is our objective. So if it is not inside this row, then return a 1, else we leave it blank. So to do that, you basically need from my idea I have is match function. Let me start with a simpler version, right? So let's say if I match this one, the number 1 with this row, and then of course comma for 0, we want exact match, we don't want approximate, right? So we expect this result to give us because 1 is not inside, so it should be NA error. NA is not available, means number 1 is not available in the list that you want to find. So number 1 is not available in the list that you want to find, right? So if you repeat the same thing, then you can see this one, match the number 2 in this list, right? So again 0, don't forget it. So return a 5, you see. So now what happens here is that we know that if we use match function, when you have error, means it is available, the number is a possible choice. If you have a number, the 5 here returns here basically means the 5th position, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So in this case, the position doesn't matter. We know that as long as it is a number, then you cannot key in. I mean, if the output of this match function is a number, means that the number 2 that you are looking for is actually inside the list. So if it is inside the list, then you cannot key in the number 2 again over here, right? So we need this one to be empty, like this. Sorry. So we need it to be empty instead of a 5. So this one we need it to be a 1, right? So back to the match function, we now know that if you see, let me use the slide to illustrate the idea. If it is error, then we want number, return number. If it is number, then return empty, right? So we don't want anything empty, empty, right? So same thing here. So that is the idea. So you see now to convert the output error to number and number to empty, we need a if function. You see, we need if function. And if what? We check the condition of the match, the result of the match function, right? So now back to this one, you can use the function. So now we need if function and also is error function. Okay, so don't forget about these two. Is error function is checking this one. We do it layer by layer. Okay, so is error, right? So you can look at the formula bar here. So for what I'm typing, right? So if is error, match of this one in this range, right? And then we need exact match, so 0, comma, close the bracket and press enter. You see, it is true. Then if we repeat the same thing, is error, just now was match this number, and then again in this row 0, right? So this should return you a false. Let me just make it larger. Okay, right, so you have a false here. So you see, now with the is error function, you are able to translate the match function, the output of match function, into true and false only. So when you have output, binary output, that means either true or false, either 1 or 2, 0 or 1, so it is either 2. So for example, today is raining, so the output is either yes or no. It won't be like in the middle. So when you have these kind of things, probably you can use if function, right? So if function actually works like this. If function, and then in the middle is the statement. Okay, then the second argument, so whatever we put into the inside the bracket or function, we call them as arguments. So the next argument is actually what to do, right? What to do if true. What to do if false. This is the third argument. So we have 3 arguments in total for this if statement. So for example, if we change it to layman term, right? So we have like, if today is raining, then I will drive, else I will cycle, right? So that means cycle to office, something like that, right? So you see, layman term, if today is raining, then I will drive to my office. Else means if today is not raining, then I will drive cycle to my office, right? So this is a statement in English words. So translating this one into Excel function, then you will have if raining, something like this, then drive, else cycle. Okay, right, so this is if statement. Okay, so having this knowledge here, now we can actually change again by changing so bear in mind, this formula you have will be quite complicated. It's like what is the word, but you have a lot of layers of the formula, so we will have to do this thing slowly, one by one, so that to make the video clearer. Okay, so now we know that we have the if function. Again, focus on this formula bar here. If is error, right? Just now remember the formula. Match function, match what? We want to match the number 1, right? In where? In this range, and we want exact match. Close it. So close one more time. So you see, is error, this whole thing will either return true or false. So if it is true, means the match function actually gives you an error. Match function gives an error implies that the number 1 is not in the list. So we want the number 1 again. Else we want empty. Remember, we want empty. In Excel, if you want to type in empty, you use this symbol 2 times. Right. So let me put it here so that you can see larger. Empty, EMPTY. Right, so it's this symbol, no space in between. You basically 2 times, right? So 1 time, 2 times. Okay, So if you copy this formula and then you paste to the right hand side, right? So you can check the formula by clicking on formula bar. You see we are using 2, no issue. This one is moving, right? So you have to just move it back. Later on we will log all these things. Then you see, okay, the same formula, actually you have a 1 here, but you have empty cell here. It implies that 2 is not a possible choice for this cell 0, right? So now having this one, then you can actually repeat the same formula to everything, like including row, column, or square, even square, you can do it. But by doing that, by using this formula, we are actually doing it manually. That means one by one, right? So you see, just now let me scroll up. My mouse is not with me, so a bit hard to scroll. Okay, so with this formula just now, where is it? Okay, I changed the, okay, this one, right? So we remember we copy it to the right hand side, then the formula, let me do it one more time. The formula move together, right? So this one move together. Initially was here to here, then now it moves to the right hand side as well. If you copy it to further to 3, 4, 5, then it will move further. So we don't want this thing to move, then you have to lock it, right? So to lock it, sorry, okay, right, so to lock formula, we use $sign. For example, like this, $A, $1, or $A$1, or $A1, or $A, sorry, without $sign at all, right? So to have this $sign, you can type in manually, or you can also use your keyboard to type in F4, the key F4 on your keyboard. Okay, so let us try this one. We will explain what is this thing later on. So for example, now if we want this thing, you see, let me start again. The formula is easier. Okay, right, so again, look at the formula bar over here, right? So if is error, right, match of this number. Okay, so when you link to this number M15, what you expect? You expect this thing, this number to move together like what we have done earlier, right? So when you copy paste to the next cell, it moves to the right hand side as well. So we hope it to move to the right hand side. So it is moving horizontally, but we don't hope this thing to go down when we copy the formula down to the next row, right? So that is our what we want to achieve. So we want it to move horizontally, but we don't want this thing to move up down, right? So if you don't want it to move up down, you have to lock the number, the row number. See, the cell here is M15. M15 here refer to column M, row 15. So if you put a $sign in front of 15, like this, so you are saying that, okay, now 15 is always fixed. No matter where you copy the formula, the number 15 won't change. Only M will change. Okay, so we can illustrate this one later on. Okay, right, so we want to match this one to here, right? And then, okay, so over here, you hope that this range, you see the dotted line, this range will not change at all, right? No matter how you copy, let's say, no matter how you copy the formula, you don't want this range to move left, right. You don't want it to move up, down also, because you are not possible to move it down, because the next row here is actually cell 1. Cell 1 is here, so you are still using the same range, right? So you don't want it to move at all. So press F4. You see, By using keyboard F4, Excel automatically inserted $sign in front of D and the 4. That means the column and the row, they are all locked. And if you want to, like for example, change the toggle this one to another combination, you can just repeat the key F4. So one time, this is the second time, right? So one more time, you see, just observe over here, right? Original, you have this one, then one time, 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, you go back to the original one. So by using F4, you can toggle the 4 combination. Okay, so what we need is this one over here. Then put a comma, 0, close it, and then close one more time. This is the bracket for the is error function, comma, then just now it was this one, right? So again, this M15, you see M15 here, it should be like this, right? So we don't want the number 15 to change, but we allow M to become N, O, P, Q, R, and so on. Then if it is false, then empty cell. So this is exactly the same formula with what we have done earlier, except that we now add in the $sign. $sign doesn't change the value of the output. It only preserve the location. So when you copy paste, the formula won't change. Okay, enter. See, same result. Let me zoom out a bit so that we can, okay. So if you copy and paste it to the right hand side, we check the formula again, you see the range, it won't change anymore now because we have locked it. And if we copy this thing, right, paste it below, you see the 1 and the range is still there, so it won't change also. So you can see we have like the same answer here or same output here for row cell 0 and 1. That is because we are checking the row condition. Since cell 0 and 1, they are in the same row, so the same row condition should give the same output. That is quite straightforward. But these 2 cells or these 2 numbers for 0 and 1, right, in columns, they will be slightly different. Okay, so now we know that with this formula, actually you can copy it and then paste to like row number 8, right? So because all the 8 all these cell here can use the same formula because they are in the same row. But when it goes to number 9, you cannot copy this formula down anymore because the range that you are checking should not be this part anymore, right? So you should be checking second row already. So with these properties, then you realize that probably you have to key in the formula one by one. So for first row, second row, third row until row number 9, and then first column, second column until column number 9, first square until the last square, small square, and so on. So if you do that, no issue. You still can obtain the same answer, but probably you will be slightly spending slightly more time on setting up this template, right? So one of the way is that we want to obtain something that is almost like one formula fits to all numbers here, right? So we want one formula that you can key in at here, right? Eventually you can copy and then paste to until the end, right? So you hope that it should be from here until here, right? So everything here, everything highlighted here using one same formula, we hope to obtain this one. Of course, this is not compulsory, but by doing that, then it is actually easier for us to copy and paste. You don't have to do one by one. If you do one by one, of course, time consuming is one thing. Second thing is that there are higher chance that you might make a mistake. So by using one formula, sometimes it could be harder when you want to complete this formula longer, but it would be easier when you copy paste and lower chance of getting error or mistake. Okay, so in order to do that, then you might want to observe one thing. So first thing, we copy, you see this formula applicable for this one, this number, right, until here, right? So that means every 9 cells, now in this case, every 9 cell or every 9 rows for these columns, every 9 times the formula change, the range will move down 1 row, and then another 9 times, then move down 1 row again, right? So that is the idea here. Then that gives us one idea. It has a pattern. When it has a pattern, we can actually use offset function. So offset function is slightly more complicated. Okay, so let me just delete the formula earlier. We leave to the first one only. Okay, so what happened here is that this range, you see, the one in the formula bar that I highlighted, this range I want to make it to be dynamic. That means when I copy the formula down, it somehow will check where is the location and then determine whether it should be here, or should be here, right? So if you want to achieve this one, then you will have to use offset function. So we remove this one, and then we say that, okay, we know that we need offset function. So what is offset function actually? Then let us just go back to this PowerPoint, and let me just briefly explain what is offset function. Right, so offset function. Right, so for offset function, actually it takes quite a number of arguments. First thing is the reference cell. That means okay, let me type this thing, then I will explain. So the rows, columns, and then width, height and width. Right, so in fact this one, this thing, right, you can see it when you are typing formula in Excel. For example, if I type it at B5 equal offset, right? So you see there will be this part here, reference, rows, column, height, width. So this is basically the description of this function, telling you what you should input into these arguments. And the arguments that has square bracket over here, as you can see from height and width, they are actually optional. When we say optional, means that if you don't key in anything for height and width, the formula works also, but not necessarily work in the way that you want, right? So optional means if you don't key in, Excel will take a default value. So default value for this height and width, they are both equal to 1, 1, 1. So we will explain what is this thing. Right, so this is the function. Oops. Okay, then reference cell is you can treat it as like starting point. So offset function, you can view it as like a function that move the cell, right? So it's like you tell them, it's like a driver, you tell the driver go straight, turn left, turn right. So this is also the same thing. Reference cell is where you go into the car, right? So it's like you take a Grab car and then you go into the car. It's where your starting point is, and then later on you tell the driver go straight 2 kilometers and then turn right. So row and column would be the same as well. So row is like how you want to move. Positive means move down. Negative means move up. Okay, so column here is the same. Positive means move to the right. Negative here means move to left. Okay, height and width is the resizing. So height and width is resizing. Okay, so we take one simple example on how offset function is working, right? So for example, if let's say we take this row, right? So this part, I start the formula here. Equal, I want to sum these 9 numbers, right? So easiest way is you can do something like this. Then you see you get 36, no problem. Now we do sum with offset. Okay, so again, the formula, look at here. I'm not too sure why over here, because I'm probably running on virtual box, virtual machine, so some of the features is a bit not so normal. Okay, so we look at the formula here, sum and then offset. So starting point, let's say if I put it here, over here, right? So this is a starting point. Now I want to tell Excel, from this starting point, I want him to move to the right hand side 1 column, right? I don't want Excel to move up or down. So it should be, the row should be 0, column should be 1. So up to here, I'm saying that, okay, Excel, you please try to move this cell reference from here to here, right? So I'm not moving up, down, I'm moving to the right 1 cell. So that is what I'm telling Excel. Okay, now once we are at here, I want to resize it to 9 cells, right? So that I can sum the whole row. So height is 1. You see, height is only 1 cell, comma, width is 9 cell. Okay, so this output will actually give you the same as the previous one, 36. Okay, of course, in this case, when you compare like sum and also sum by using the offset function, actually is a bit you don't really need the offset function in this case, but offset function is actually very useful, like when you are trying to do something like this, right? So you know the range will be changing based on certain condition. So what are the certain condition? The easiest way is we go back to this cell numbering, right? So you see, if the number is less than 9, that means from 0 to 8, it should be this one. If it is less than 18, it should be this one, right? So if it is less than 27, it should be this one. So less than 27 is the 3rd row, you see. Less than 36 would be the 4th row. So actually they are, if you take the number divided by 9, so 0 divided by 9, you get 0. 9 divided by 9, you get 1. 18 divided by 9, you get 2. So 0, 1, 2, 3 correspond to the row number 1, 2, 3, right? So now by using this idea, we can actually use offset function. Of course, you also need something like integer function, int, right? So you also need one function that is int. Okay, right? So int is basically something like this. If I put int 9.3, sorry, I will get 9. int 9.9, I will get 9 also, right? So this is basically like taking the integer part of the number. And if we go to this one, you see, if let's say I just do it here so that we can see clearer. Of course, this is not what we want in this part. If I take this one divided by 9, then I copy the formula down. You see, we get like decimal. So if I take integer part, you see, probably I should make it longer, the list until here. Okay, right? So if I take the integer part, I will get all 0 here, right? From 0 to 8, they are 0. Plus 1, it should be equal to 1. So from 9 onwards, I take integer part, I have 1. Plus 1, I have 2, which would be corresponding to row number 2. Right, so in this case now we know that we can actually use int function to determine which row we are looking at. Okay, so with int function now we can actually change this range. Again, you see this part you have to change it to offset. Offset of, you can start from any cell. I'm quite used to like start from the top left and then plus, like moving further. Okay, so this C3 you need to lock it, because no matter how you copy the cell later on, right, so to the below, to the left, right, C3 is always there. So moving left, right will be determined by the numbers here, right? Don't forget. So C3 and then put a comma. Now is the row, right? So how many rows to move down? We know that we should take the integer part of these numbers dividing by 9. int of this one. Okay, so this A16 again you have to lock it, but not in this way. In this way, because we don't want column A to move, right? So when you copy it to the right hand side, it is always referring to 0 and it won't move to like here. But when you copy it down to here, we want it to go down to 1 also. So 16 you cannot put $sign in front of it. You put $sign in front of A means that the alphabet A won't change. It will always in column A. Okay, integer of this A16 divided by 9. And then what else? Remember just now we are saying that okay, we need a +1 because this integer part is always 0, right? So by doing that, you are saying that okay, now I move down the rows according to the numbers already. And column, how many columns you should move to the right? You should always move only one column, right? So from here to here only. So 1, put in a 1. And then height and width, again height is 1, width is 9. So let me see, you don't have this bracket here. Okay, so once you have this one, then you have this dynamic range, and in fact you can copy down the formula, right? So for example, if I copy, instead of copy, you can also click and drag if you are not familiar with this thing yet. Okay, so you can also copy it down. You see the numbers should be the same until because just now we mentioned that from cell 0 to cell number 8 they are in the same row, so this output should be the same, right? And then if you drag it down, so always do some reasonable check when you are doing a complicated, slightly complicated template. Then you see row number 9 onwards start change already. That means by row condition, cell number 9 actually can take all this number except 7 and 9, right? So if you scroll up a bit, then you will see okay, 7 and 9. The rest you are free to put in, right? So by using row condition only. So this is what we expect. Okay, so when you have this one, then you can actually copy it down. Of course, just now we mentioned we can do something like this and then drag it down, right? To be honest, this one is slightly slow in this case. So one of the easiest way is once you have filled up this first cell, right, copy it, and then we go to the last row and then select everything. So right, so this is the last row. Go up and then over here. So you select the whole range, paste it, then everything is done. So how to navigate this one across the workbook, I will not discuss in this video. Probably I will create another video on navigating, right? So all the keyboard shortcuts and so on. So if you need, if you want me to create a video on navigating across the Excel file, so leave a comment so that I know, and then I can prepare a workbook that is suitable for to be used as an exercise to navigate around. So like how we can move around. So if you would like to see a video like this, then comment and let me know. Okay, so this is the row, and then same idea, we move to the column, right? So except one thing is slightly different. Just now was using like this. Now the range you are checking vertically, and bear in mind vertically is no longer the same with this one, because just now we are saying that okay, 0 divided by 9 plus take the integer part plus 1, so we always get which row you need, right? But in this case you are not able to do that anymore, because like 0, 1, 2, 3, they are actually referring to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4 different columns, you see. So it is not so same. But luckily, one of the things that we can utilize from what we learn from mathematics is that the remainder, right? So again, back to this one, let me just type up something so that we can actually see this thing clearer. So remainder is what we want to do. So what remainder we have? Or like for example, just now, remember this is cell 0, 1, 2, 3 until 8, right? So we are saying that okay, if I take 0 divided by 9 and take the remainder, what is the remainder of this one? 0, right? So no issue. 1 divided by 9, take remainder again, then it's 1, right? So if let's say I take the remainder plus 1 again, what happened? It will become 1. Plus 1 again, it will become 2. So that implies that, back to this one, 0 divided by 9, take remainder plus 1 is the first column. 1 divided by 9, take remainder plus 1 is the second column, and so on. And you can easily check, for example, like cell 21, right? So 21 divided by 9 and then take remainder. Remainder is 3, right? So 18 minus 18 plus 3 equal to 21, plus 1 is 4. So we know that cell number 21, it should be taking column number 4. So 21 should be column number 4, this one. So you see exactly the same. So we know that for column part, we are actually using this remainder. So quite straightforward. So for remainder in Excel function, we are talking about in Excel. So we are using mode function. Example, 21 divided by 9 take remainder is like this. Mode of 21 with 9. And this is equal to 3. Right, so it's the remainder of 9. So what we need is now the remainder plus 1, right, and then 3 plus 1. Okay, so that is our objective here, and you get 4, right, column number 4. Okay, back to this one. Now we know that the formula here and here, they are actually similar, except that the range should be changed from integer to mode, the formula. Okay, so let me just copy this one, paste it here, and then we can edit it. Scroll to the right a little bit. Okay, right. So again, focus on the formula bar. So just now we are saying that okay, we are matching V in, when you do this offset, it should be giving you the row, right? Because you are taking 1, 9 here with the height 1 with 9. But if you need a column, then it should be height 9 with 1, right? So vertically 9 and then only one cell. So 9, 1, height is 9, width is 1. And then don't forget this part you need to change a little bit. So mode of where's the number? Okay, over here, right? So mode of 0. Again, don't forget we need to log the alphabet A. Okay, 9 and then plus 1. So that is what we have here. And then we see if, let's say, this is correct. Formatting a bit off. Let me highlight. Okay, right. So you have this one. Copy, paste it to over here. Right. So okay. Right. So you see, when we are saying vertical, this is cell 0, right? So we are at cell 0. For the column, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 8, 9 are possible. So you see 4 and 7 is here, no issue. Cell number 1, over here we haven't copied the formula down, but we expect it to be 1, like, or in another words, 2, 4, 6, 9 should not be inside here, right? 2, 4, 6, 9. So if let's say we copy this formula down, we see what happened, right? Wait, okay, sorry, this is a small mistake here. Let me scroll a bit. Undo this part. Okay, so this number 1 here, over here just now, C3, right? So we should be moving down one row only, and then the column should be moving, right? So it should be 1, comma, like this, instead of this 1, comma 1. These two are like upside down. So with this, then you say, okay, let me just explain this again. C3, I move down one row. You see, move down one row means I always start from the first cell here, right, from the top. And then whether move how many columns or how many cells to the right, it depends on the formula here. Divide by 9, take remainder plus 1. We explained this in the PowerPoint earlier. Okay, so if move here and then resize it to 9 cells with 1 column, right? So that is the whole offset function, what whole offset function is doing. Now you can actually copy this formula down here. Yeah, so now you can see 2, 4, 6 is not allowed, 2, 4, 6 not allowed, 9 is not allowed in the second column as well, right? So with this, then we complete both row and columns condition. Of course, over here now we have to copy this thing to the whole cell. So we can do the same thing, go to the last cell and then select all the range. Just now you make sure you copy and then you can paste it. But don't forget, when you paste it, formatting might be disturbed, right? So click here, a bit hard, never mind. So I'm not too used to looking at the icons. HBN, HBS. Okay, right. So what I did just now was to clear all the border. Okay, so it's just some keyboard shortcut to clear the border. Okay, and this one also, I just add the border back. Okay, right. So probably I should do it using mouse so that everyone can see it. Okay, now once we have this one, okay, moving to this one, this is slightly more complicated. We won't go into details on how to do this thing, but what in fact it is actually the same, how to say, the same idea, but instead of checking row or column, right? So if I go back to this one, right? So just now row and column condition, you check one row or one column, right? So that one is easier because you can directly use match function. So match function, right? So this one, no issue. But when you are trying to do the same thing, we are still applying the same concept for the square. But when you are trying to do the same thing for a square, right? So the match function doesn't work in a square. It only works in a row or a column, single row, single column, right? So it doesn't work that way. So in order to make to do a matching inside a square, a small square, so what we can use is actually by using sum product. Okay, so this one I won't go into details, but basically I explain the big picture. So this part here is basically just saying that, okay, we are trying to check this sum product. Sum product is designed not for doing matching, but for doing some multiplication and then add them up. Okay, right. So what we have here is actually like this. It's slightly complicated, but because the range, you see, it is like moving when it is less than 9, so it is always in this part, right? So when it is, you see, how should I explain this one? Probably I should start from scratch. Okay, never mind. So this if function, the first one, it is a nested if, and you have one if and then you have second if here, right? So just continue, and whatever it does is that same idea. We are trying to check AE15 inside the small square, but how do we determine the small square? Is that we use offset, right? So offset of C3, again C3 is over here, right? And then it has to move down the row, right? So how many rows to move down? Over here now you don't have a very good formula to do that. Unlike column we always move down one row only, right? Because we always start from the top. But now, like for example this square, you have to move down 4 rows, so the number is different. But how do we determine this one? Is that it depends on the number, you see. So if it is less than the numbers is in between 0 to 26, I only move down 1 row, because the square always start from first row, right? You can view here also first row. If let's say the number is 27 to 53, then I always move down 4 rows, okay, so that I can start from here. And then if it is 54 to 80, then I move down how many rows? 1, 2, 3, 4, 7 rows, right? So over here, here, and here. So what I does here is that, okay, now if I have this number, right? So if it is more than 54, I return a 2, and then multiply by 3 plus 1, which is 7, right? So 7 rows. So the 7 is not this 7, but 7 rows. 1, 2, 3, so until 7, which is here. Okay. So if let's say this is more than 27, so more than 27, remember more than 54 is already taken care in the first part already, so you don't have to consider like more than, oops, I don't have a mouse here, so a bit hard to navigate. Okay, right, so where was I? Okay, more than 54. So over here you don't have to consider like more than 27 and less than 54. If you want, you can do that also. More than or equal to 27, I return 1, right? The number 1, and then times 3 plus 1. If you don't want to do times 3 plus 1, you can put like 147, also same thing. But I'm just too used to all these kind of things. So this part here actually gives us the row, right? So it returns how many row? Sorry, from here to here, not everything. Okay, from here to here, right? So it tells us how many rows to move down. Then of course this part is to tell us how many columns to move down. So from here to here is almost the same idea, right? So divide by 9, and then we decide how many rows. Okay, so same idea. And then 3 is to resize it to a size of 3 by 3 square. Okay, so now once you have this one, this gives the range the correct small square of where the cell is. Okay, then we are saying that, okay, I want to match this one exact. This is like a trick or the trick of the formula lah. So we use exact to match this value. AE15 is the number 1 just now. So AE15, if you look at it here, right? So this is AE15. Okay, then we match it inside this range, which is like in this case is this square, right? So we match it inside here. Then if you do this matching, and then okay, let me just close this one. Okay, so this one to here So you actually return like 1010. So if 1 is inside the range, then you have 1 and so on and so forth. Okay, so this offset again takes the square also. So it's like a, you see the sum product here is like a multiplication now. So we multiply it with the 10 with the original one. So to return whether it is a 1 or not. So if it is a 0 means that it is not. If you return a 0, this formula, excluding the square bracket until here, right? So if it is a 0 means that the number 1 is not inside the small square. If it is non-zero, then 1 is inside the square. So if equal to 0, 1 is not inside, then we take the value AE15 again, else we return empty. So you see last part is the same. In fact, this whole thing, right, so from here to here, it is similar with like the isError plus match function earlier, but it becomes slightly more complicated because of the range is not single column or single row. So this one I leave it to you to study in details if you are interested. Okay, now we just need to fill up this formula until the end, right? So okay. Okay. So after filling up this formula, then you see we can actually combine them, combine the three conditions. That means you see one is available possible by row condition, by column condition, and by square condition. One is permissible, then you put a 1 here. 2 is not permissible, this is like this. 3 is okay, right? So 3 appears 3 times. So we only allow it to have this thing when it appears 3 times. So in order to do that, easiest way is if we use OR, right? If this one equal to empty, or this one equal to empty, or this one equal to empty. So that means if either one of them is empty, then empty. Else return this value, right? So again, log like this. Then this thing will be okay. Then again, copy paste to the whole thing. Actually, you can choose here. You see, formatting is following the cell that you copy. You can paste without formatting, but usually I use keyboard shortcut, so I cannot really read the what is that called? The icon. Oops. Never mind. Let me do it one more time. So I'm using not using keyboard because I want to demonstrate how we can actually change this thing. Paste value. Formula. Okay, right. So you only paste formula. You don't want to paste the formatting. You can do that also. Okay. So now you see by combine column now over here, actually you can already start to fill in. That means you choose the row that has only one possible choice. Like in this case, you have set 3. You can't do that. So if you let me check. Something like here, right? So you can start filling cell 64 with number 5, but checking in this way is harder, you see. So we want to do something that is easier for us to sort it out. So we want to sort according to the list number here, and then you start filling up easier. So what to do is you can actually do a concatenate. That means I hope that my output here should be 136, 136, so that this is a list, right? And then later on I can sort by the length of this column, so it will be easier. So To do that, here we have to change a little bit. So we put something like this, right? So this is actually what this part is doing is that we are joining the string, so it's concatenating, right? So you see you have a comma over here, and then again now you can copy paste everything. So I'm using keyboard shortcut, that's why you see formatting is not changing, and then it will be easier. But since we have demonstrated how to do that, so I did not use mouse again. Okay, so let me just go back to the PowerPoint. So joining string, right? String or text. So in Excel you have two ways. One is by concatenate function. We will look at that later. For example, concatenate, let's say good morning, like this. So the expected output will be good morning, no space, because you don't have any space over here. You see, good and morning, you don't have space. But if you do it like this, right, so the output should be with a space, okay? Or you can also do it like this. Then you should have a space also, right? So space doesn't matter. I mean, it can be after the good or before the morning, so you have the same output. Okay, that is concatenate. The same thing you can also do with this, good and morning. So this gives us good morning, right? So that is concatenating. One is you use the concatenate function. One is you use this ampersand symbol. So like what we have earlier over here. So we are taking D15, right? So D15, which is this number, concatenate with a comma. So you have a comma. So reason why I'm doing that is that over here then we don't have to do concatenating again. Okay. So one more thing is that when you are looking at this one, you say, okay, 136 is available. Sorry, 136 is available. I can key in 136 in cell 0, right? So no issue. But don't forget, when you go to cell number 4, 9 is already there from the question or from the problem, right? So you see, it suggests you to put 134. Of course, we can actually see, okay, 134, and then you scroll up, oh, you have a number there, so you don't key in. You can do that. But there is another way that you can actually do that by using if function again, right? So if what? If so if what? So we want to search this number inside this range, right? So remember just now we say that match function, lookup function, they doesn't work for the multiple columns or multiple rows range. So in this case, we are still using the same idea with this part, the square, okay, using this exact function, sum product and exact. Okay, so let me demonstrate over here. So it's the same idea with the square part, and I demonstrate here because it is shorter, easier to demonstrate. Okay, so if what? If sum product of the two negative here or two minus sign here is a negation, that means the true will become false, the false will become true, 1 will become 0, 0 will become 1. Okay, so I put in two negative sign here, and then exact function, exact of what? Exact of this thing, and then I log it like this, right? So I want to find this 0 inside this range, this one, log it also. Okay, close this bracket. So this will return you an array with 1 0. That means with the negation over here, that means here is 1, the rest is 0, because 0 appears here only, right? So sum product, and then you multiply here. Okay, now we can explain what is this sum product. Log it. close it. Okay, so if you look at this sum product function, excluding this bracket, right? So inside this sum product, you have first argument, this one. As we explained earlier, this one actually becomes like returns a table of 1, and then the rest are 0 for the rest of the cell, right? So now sum product is taking that table multiply with this table. So 1 multiply with this one, 0 multiply with the rest. The output here we expect it to be a 0. Okay, so if it is 0, what happened? That means this cell is empty. So if this is equal to 0, then we want to do a concatenate of this one, then this one. So over here we can just do it one by one slowly, because only one time, so we don't have to like think of a new way to do all these things. So concatenate everything, comma. If it is not 0, that means it has a value, so we put a done here. Then you see you get 1, 2, 3, and if we copy the formula down, then row number 3, cell number 3 is a done. That means you don't have to worry about cell number 3 what to key in later on, right? So this is what we have, and again fill up for the whole column. Center, right? So this is what we have. The last part here, length. Length here is like we want to count how many numbers you have so that you can sort it easily. So we take length of again observe the formula over here. Length of what? Length of this thing, right? So close the bracket, divided by 2, because you see 1, 3, 6, so in this case the length is 6 character, divided by 2, you get 3 numbers. So the number 3 indicates that you have 3 possible choices. Then again copy this thing, paste it down, right? So you see, like this case, a 1 directly, you know, cell number 79, you key in a 6 over here, center. So by doing that, actually you can start filling up this whole thing. So you can always sort the table, filter, and so on. Now to make things even easier, we do a conditional formatting, right? So this conditional formatting, what we want to do is that we want to highlight this whole row. For example, if it is a done, we want to highlight in red color, strike through all the numbers or the text, so that you don't have to worry about this thing later on, right? So you know this is already done, something like that. Okay, so to do that, you select the whole range. So you can select until everything, right? So select the whole range, and then go to Home, Conditional Formatting, New Rule. This is a custom rule, so we use a formula to determine. And formula is like this, equal to, we have to go back to the cell, equal to this one, this one, right? So make sure that you select this one, and also don't click anywhere else yet. Make sure that you use F4 to change it to like this, $C 16. So we want 16 to move, but $C is not moving, equal to done, right? So don't forget this asterisk, not asterisk, what is the symbol over here? Let me copy to the PowerPoint so that we can see this thing. Copy, new slide, right? So we want something like this. Okay, make sure it is like this, and then go back to here. Then the format here, you have to format it first. Don't click OK yet. Change the format. Like for example, if you want it to strike through, you want to fill the color with red color, click OK. Click OK one more time. You see all the done will be highlighted with red and strike through all the text. So you don't have to worry about this thing. Now the last part is just to sort this thing and then fill this whole table out. To make things even easier, I would suggest you to freeze this one. So select row 16, go to view, and then freeze pane here. Then so that later on when you scroll, you see the Sudoku is always here and easier for you to key in. Okay, right. And the last thing is that you can add a filter. Home, and then you can add a filter. Filter, right? So add a filter. Go back to this part. Over length here. Like for example, I choose a 1. Click OK. 41. So how to key in? Cell 41, number 9. Cell 41 is here, right? So it's here. Number is 9. So you know this is a number 9. So once you have keyed in this thing, you see when it is updated in the Sudoku, this one also updated, and you can just continue until you feel that okay, I don't want to see this thing anymore. Then you filter one more time. The filtering will do again, because every time you type in something, this thing might change also because the condition changed already. So you get new numbers that one. So you slowly just fill this thing up, then you can complete the whole Sudoku. That's all of the video. I think this video is a little bit lengthy because I'm trying to explain the philosophy of how we solve this Sudoku using Excel. So if you like my video, probably you can subscribe to my channel. In the future, I will be creating videos like from A to Z of using Excel. So that is basically the trainings that I have provided earlier. So I decided to take the materials and then modify it a little bit and make it publicly available on YouTube. So you can subscribe to my channel if you would like to learn some Excel skills. And at the same time, I will be also creating videos on mathematics videos. So I will be talking about or discussing about some mathematical theory concept in the interesting or fun way, or at least I feel that it is fun. Then I hope that we can actually use like implement some Excel template, or like how we can use Excel to solve certain problems of mathematics, so that the learning of mathematics is not so boring for the high school or secondary school students. So the level of or the skills of the mathematics that is required will not be like university or postgraduate level, but I will focus more on like easier to understand, suitable for pre-U student and public and also working adults. And of course we hope to use when it is available, I will basically introduce how we can use Excel to solve certain problems of mathematics. Okay, so that's all for my very first video of this channel. Thank you for watching. If you would like to see any other videos, comment below and let me know. Thanks. See you guys. Bye.